All right, we're talking about menaces to society. Now, when you think of menaces to society, it could be a good thing and it also could be a bad thing. This list is going to be a mixture of both, depending on how you look at it. And I'm talking about historical figures, so there's no like King Von or whatever. Although he was a menace to society, I don't think he actually compares to these historical menaces to society. Although the top tier of this tier list is called King Von. So without further ado, let's begin with the first entry, Napoleon. Napoleon is probably one of the greatest generals that the world has ever seen. And the way that he absolutely destroyed and carved up Europe was crazy. First of all, he came from Corsica, so he had to fight his way through the French nobility because Corsica wasn't considered France. Like, it was France, but like it wasn't France because it was just bought from Italy, if I'm not mistaken. So he had to fight his way up. And then when he was a teenager, he was so good at what he's done that he kind of got his own army at such a young age. Blew up the Sphinx's nose, allegedly. So that's already menace. You blew up something that was there for like thousands of years. He probably most likely took an L, but he came back, was even more popular, especially because it was after the French Revolution. There was a lot of instability, so everyone saw him like, yo, you should go for like, you should be emperor, you should be a leader. So he became, I think, for a lack of a better word, he became a president, and then like he got so cocky that he crowned himself emperor. You don't do that. That's such a huge like slap in your face to all of the monarchies in Europe. So that's menace behavior number 2, right? The first one, obviously, he blew up the Sphinx's nose. Second one, he crowned himself emperor. The third one is what he's most popular, like is what he's known for, like the Napoleonic Wars, all right? So because he became emperor, he set up sister republics like through Europe, and obviously that threw off the balance of power in Europe. So the entirety of Europe went to war with him, not once, not twice, but I think 4 separate times, and he won all 4. He beat them up so bad that they're just like, fair enough, bro. There's really nothing we could do about it. He went to war with Europe, right? And then he got exiled. Then he took the people from the island that he was exiled at, took over France again. So like Barack Obama, right? Let's say Barack Obama went to war with like the whole world and won, but then he got exiled. He got exiled to Hawaii, all right? He took the citizens, that it's basically saying Obama took the citizens of Hawaii, reconquered the mainland US, and went to war again. So that's what he did. But then he got beat again and then got exiled all the way to St. Helena. And I think he tried to take his own life, but the poison didn't work. Like, he beat the poison. So that's another, like, that's how badass he was. And he was such a menace. Like, dude, what the fuck? Because he was so, I don't understand. I just can't wrap my head around, like, going to war with the rest of a continent and winning, right? So that's that. Genghis Khan. From one general to another. Genghis Khan, before I even begin, he's going in King Von tier, all right? This is why, all right? This is why I put King Von, or no, sorry. This is why I put Genghis Khan at King Von tier, all right? So first of all, in order for him to get power, he killed his older half-brother, right? So then he took over the Mongolian like army and empire, and he conquered China. He conquered the rest of can you imagine like a country stretching from China all the way to the Eurasian steppe, past the Eurasian steppe, and stretching all the way down to like the Middle East? Like that's like 20, I think I read somewhere that like the height of the Mongolian Empire, the Mongolian Empire controlled 20% of the land on Earth. So that's absolutely god tier of a general, all right? And he killed so many people like during his like adventures, that the carbon footprint of the world like lowered by I think 20% as well. Like, can you like, there's no proof, right? First of all, there is no proof that the Mongolian Empire ever existed except for that. Like, that is the only reason why we know that the Mongolian Empire existed, is because they lowered the carbon footprint of the world by so much. He would kill them and then like marry and have kids with those wives. So like, there's like so many people, 8% of men from northern China to Uzbekistan are descendants of him, me included. I'm a descendant of Genghis Khan. So like, maybe there's some bias there, but I remember there's a story of like this guy. Like, when Genghis, like, he left the town that he was in before Genghis Khan came in and ransacked it, right? When he came back, it was after Genghis Khan ransacked the town, right? And he thought that the mountains in his town were covered in snow. No, dude. Those mountains were covered in the burned bodies, the ashes of the troops and civilians that lived in the town. Another story. There's a 13th century chronicler named Matthew Paris, okay? He called him detestable nation of Satan that poured out like devils from Tartarus, so that they are rightly called Tartars. A nation of Satan. That is unbelievably, like, if you get called, like, unironically, if you get called Satan, like a nation of Satan, that is, how menaced do you have to be to everyone? After he died, the soldiers who went to bury him killed everyone along the way to hide his final resting place. And then the soldiers ended up committing suicide. So like, his burial, we don't even know where he's buried at. So I guess like when he died, he killed more people because he wanted to keep it a secret. So that's even more of a menace. Like, you can't really compare Napoleon to Genghis Khan in terms of menace behavior. Lu Bu, first of all, his nickname was Flying General, so that's pretty cool. So this is what he's known for, right? Lu Bu is known for betraying absolutely everyone that he worked for. Like, that's literally the definition of menace. Okay, so let me read this. I wrote this down because I knew I was gonna mess this up. He was working for a guy named Ding Ren. Like, okay, first of all, I know how to pronounce these names, but I'm not going to, because it's just gonna mess up the flow of the explanation, okay? So he worked under Ding Ren, and then he betrayed and murdered him, and then defected to this guy named Dong Zhou, all right? And Dong Zhou, he went to the palace, basically took over the government. So Lu Bu basically was his right-hand man. Then he turned on Dong Zhou because allegedly he took his girlfriend. Like, can you imagine, like, nowadays, someone killing someone else because of a girl? I guess it happens. Dong Zhou called him his adoptive son. So like, you get married to your wife, right? And then you find out that your wife is cheating on you with your adoptive son, which disgusting. Then like, you decide to kill the son and the girl, like, bro. So after he killed Dong Zhou, right, he was driven out of the palace and he tried to find shelter, and he did under Ran Shu. In 194 AD, he attacked Cao Cao, which is another general, but lost. Keep that in mind. But then he later worked with Cao Cao, the one he attacked, to defeat Ran Shu, because Ran Shu declared himself emperor of a new dynasty. So like, you have two betrayals there, right? You sought shelter under Ran Shu, but then you later attacked him because he declared himself emperor. That's betrayal number one, all right? Betrayal number two is kind of like, okay, first of all, you attacked Cao Cao, but then you later work with him. So that's betrayal number two. And then he betrayed Liu Bei, who offered him refuge after that happened. And in 198, he betrayed Cao Cao and Liu Bei again to side with Ran Shu. So he betrayed and worked with these guys three times, all right? So he found shelter under Ran Shu. He betrayed him and attacked him because he declared himself emperor. But then he sided with Ran Shu again to attack Cao Cao and Liu Bei, right? So, and then in 194, he attacked Cao Cao and lost. Boom, there's one right there. And then worked with him to defeat Ran Shu. And then he betrayed Cao Cao again to work with Manchu. So that's a triple betrayal. And then Liu Bei, I don't understand. Like, I don't like how do you betray people like that? Like, I think there's an urban legend that this guy, like, the reason why he betrayed people so much is because he had a mental illness. That's the only reasonable explanation for his betrayal and, like, I guess his betraying, like, tendencies. He is a menace. So I don't think he's not the level of Genghis, but I would put him below Napoleon because there's no wars named after him. Juan Puyol Garcia, if you don't know him, he's also known as Garbo the Spy, all right? So basically, he was one of the few people during World War II to earn both the second class of the member of the most excellent order of the British Empire and the Iron Cross. If you don't know what those are, he got the highest order. He got wartime medals for both Germany and Great Britain, aka the Allies and Evil Mustache Man. Now, how do you do that? All right, so here's some backstories. Like, he grew up in Spain. He was Spanish, and then during the time of him growing up in Spain, like, he saw how bad communism and fascism was. So he hated both. And then during the 1930s, he was like, oh, there's something called the Nationalist Socialist Move Party, and that's both communist or socialist / communist and fascist. Nah, bro, I hate these guys. So what he did was he applied to be an agent for Germany to absolutely sabotage the German, like, army, basically. He was staying in Portugal the whole time. So he was faking this, all of this, whatever, and then he finally got caught by Britain. But then Garbo, the spy, was like, nah, bro, I hate these guys. I want to work for you, but I'll work as a double agent. They're like, yo, that's sick. So that's why he got the name Garbo the Spy, because, like, apparently Garbo was, like, there was, like, a character named Garbo, and he was, like, I think she was a really good, like, double agent, whatever, or a good actor, right? So that's why he's called Garbo the Spy. But anyway, so he would relay information about British life to the Germans, but he would delay the information like a week late and give it to them. So, like, all the information that Garbo the Spy was giving was correct, but just a week late. But keep in mind, he never stepped foot in Britain or Germany. He was just in Portugal. So he was duping Germany so hard. And the funniest thing about, like, one of the funniest things that he did, I don't want to say it's funny, but, like, coolest things that he did was that he reported that the Allies were going to invade in Calais for D-Day. So, like, a huge invasion. So he kind of, like, he relayed that information to Germany, and then Germany sent so many troops to Calais instead of where D-Day actually happened. So unironically, he saved a bunch of German troops' lives, but, like, he duped them so bad that that's one of the reasons why. And I would give him full credit. I would actually give him full credit. That's the reason why that D-Day was so successful, because if he didn't dupe the German army, it would have been way harder for D-Day to actually been successful. And I think that we would have seen, like, Eisenhower in a different light, or maybe D-Day would have failed and whatever. We could get in all those speculations. So I'll be honest, he's still not the level of Genghis or Lubu or Napoleon. I'll put him in good, like top of good, but I don't know. I might move him up to great later. Maximilien Robespierre. All right, so I can't believe, like, I was watching videos on this, on, like, biggest menaces in history, and Maximilien Robespierre wasn't really in them. And I was so surprised because I remember learning about this guy in, like, history class, like Euro history or just, like, world history or whatever. And he is unironically one of the most paranoid people and evil people that ever lived, in my opinion. He was elected first deputy of Paris. Like, this was during the French Revolution, right? He was part of the Jacobins, whatever, the more radical side, right? Like, we want whatever, like, super equal, whatever. I don't know. I forgot. But when he was elected first first deputy of Paris to the National Convention, the one of the first things he did, he put the king, all right, he put the king on trial and executed him. So that's like, imagine this. Maximilien Robespierre was basically, he grew up poor, and then when he took power, he executed the king. Just like, imagine that real quick. Like, that's if Brian Scalabrine dunked on Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan never played basketball again. Like, that is the level of disrespect and gall and the amount of balls that you need to have to do that is incredibly insane. Like, Scalabrine is not dunking on prime Michael Jordan, right? But that's basically what Robespierre did. He dunked on the king and killed that guy. And then he started the Reign of Terror, which lasted for less than a year, but killed around 41,000 people. So, all right. So, the Reign of Terror, basically, the guillotine was the government. It was judge, jury, and executioner. If you did not subscribe to the Jacobin ideas, you will die. And Robespierre was literally the architect behind that. He killed so many people that the place where the executions took place, right, was covered in blood and subsequently had a foul smell. Like, imagine the streets being dyed red because of the amount of people that you've been killing. Like, bro, that's I'm surprised that, like, people look up, like, the attitude around Robespierre, at least when I was learning about him, was like, oh, he had good intentions. He was good. No, dude, he killed 41,000 people in less than a year, and it was so frequent. The execution was so frequent that the roads and, like, the buildings and the areas that where the executions were happening were caked in blood and had a bad smell. Like, dude, and he would have kept going if he didn't mess up, right? So the reason why the Reign of Terror ended is because Robespierre basically said, he addressed his followers and said, I have a list of people to execute, and some of you are on it. So, you know what the people did? They're like, nah, bro, we're just gonna kill you instead so you can't kill us. So that's how the Reign of Terror ended. Like, he would have kept going if he didn't say that. Like me, he was a professional yapper. He didn't have to say, many of you are on it, basically. He didn't have to say it. He could just said, I have a new list of people to execute. That's it. But he said that, and that's why the Reign of Terror ended. So, like, in an alternate universe, right, the Reign of Terror would have lasted so long, and we would be talking about Robespierre as more of a war criminal, or not a war criminal, more of like on the same levels of the more evil dictators in history than we do now. Like, it's kind of scary to think about in a way. But anyway, I think I'll put Robespierre at great. He's worse than Garbo, but definitely not as bad as Napoleon. Hold on. So Robespierre, like, when he took power, he got rid of religion, which, like, at least Christianity has been a thing for more than a millennia, and he got rid of that. So that's another menace thing. So yeah, top of great, very nearly to dude, WTF, very nearly. I might move him up later, but that guy he lost his mind. He saw blood and said, all right, let's run with it. Pol Pot. Now, I don't really see his name along with, like, the most evil dictators in history, mainly because like I don't know why. Like, if you were to say who were the 3 most evil dictators in history, guaranteed most people will say evil mustache man, Mao Zedong, and Stalin. Okay, which fair enough, right? They're pretty bad, and we'll get to Mao Zedong later. But Pol Pot was the most deadly. He was the most deadly. All right, think about it. He killed people with glasses, could speak a foreign language, watched hands, and rich people. Why? What? Like, because, okay, I'll explain why. He hated education. He did not want his country, Cambodia, by the way, to be educated. He wanted everything to be communist, everything to be equal, right? So he banned education, and then he got rid of teachers, doctors, like lawyers, rich people, and the people with watched hands and glasses. You were executed for that because it would say that you were rich, right? So like, at least for the watches. But for the glasses, it'll mean that, oh, you were educated, so you would die. He killed babies so that the moms could work in the fields. So he would take the baby and he would just like hit the babies against the tree until they died. Like, that's so, my brain can't even fathom how evil that is and how primal that is. Like I could, okay, this is gonna sound terrible, but I could accept I could imagine, right? I want to say accept. I could imagine a baby getting shot, right? Because like that's one bullet, dead, right? No pain, whatever. But a baby getting hit, or anyone getting hit against a tree over and over again, like that's so painful and so primal to it that it's just so, ugh. There are mass graves and killing fields. So they were known for the killing fields, and some people were buried alive. And he was such a menace to society. It's estimated that he killed 1.25 million people to 3 million people out of 7.5 million. So think about this, right? That's if China, let's say China had their own Pol Pot nowadays. So like I did the math, right? China has 1.3 billion in their population. That's if Pol Pot killed around 580 million people today. He was so bad that Vietnam, fresh out of the Vietnam War, right? They were communist, right? Obviously, they invaded Cambodia because they were saying, dude, Pot, you're taking this way too far. You need to stop. So I'm telling you, bro, like Pol Pot is up there with the evil of the evil. Like, bro, China said, Pol Pot, you need to relax. China, Mao Zedong said you need to relax because Pol Pot took everything to the extreme. Imagine dying because you had glasses. Like, the self-awareness there isn't good. Like, it's not even palpable. By the way, he was educated. So he, like, according to his own rules, he would have died, right? So it's like the amount of, you know what? I'm not even gonna think about it anymore. Pol Pot, straight to King Von. Speaking of Mao Zedong, we got Mao Zedong next, right? He's the founder of the CCP. Well, he thanked the Japanese for causing the war because, like, he pushed out the Republic of China, which is now Taiwan. He pushed them out to Taiwan, and he thanked the Japanese, which is such a slap in the face for every single Chinese person, because what the Japanese did to the Chinese people during World War II and the Sino-Japanese War, whatever, is so bad. So after he took power, this man said, all right, let's do the Great Leap Forward. We're falling behind. We need to be better. Idealistically, sounds great, but it caused so many people to die. Around 45 million people died under his watch, and 2/3 of them were from torture and execution, right? Like, I can understand starvation. Like, oh, starving, it's not really, like, you could feign, like, that's not the right word. You could deny responsibility for starvation, but like for torture and execution, like, no, bro, that's on you. And 2/3 of the 45 mil were torture and execution. So it's just like, okay, great, you're pretty bad. And After that failed, he introduced the Cultural Revolution, which killed 1.5 million more people. Like, so that brings his body count to 46.5 million. Like, that's being gracious too, because there are some estimates where the Great Leap Forward killed like 80 million people to 100 million. Like, I'm giving him grace here. 45 million is still really bad. Let's not talk about the killing for now for Mao Zedong. Let's talk about like his personal life, right? This is like, nowadays it looks bad. I guess because I don't know if it looked bad back then, but he was a serial cheater and he had a lot of STDs and he would spread those amongst women that he would like hook up with. Like, that's, if killing didn't push you through, this would push you like past the edge of, oh, this guy was pretty bad. Like, this guy was a menace. I'm gonna put him though at like, oh, man, what do I say? I'll put him at top of grade. John Paul Jones. I'm looking at this from the British point of view. John Paul Jones was probably the biggest, if not the biggest menace, other than George Washington during the American Revolution. So this guy, John Paul Jones, he captured 8 warships, burned and sunk 8 other warships while raiding coastal settlements on the British islands at the same time, while evading his own capture. Like, bro, you're a pirate. Like, you are a pirate. It unironically founded the American military. The American Navy was founded on John Paul Jones, basically a pirate during the Revolution. And you're wondering why we're all crazy, because we were literally founded on crazy people. George Washington was a nut job, but it worked. And so is John Paul Jones. He was also a nut job, but it worked. He created his own U.S. flag because if he didn't, he would have gotten tried and convicted of like treason or whatever the heck. After the American Revolution like ended, this guy was he loved fighting other people. So he fought the Turkish people on behalf of the Russians. Like, I don't know which war it was, but like, he fought for the Russians against the Turkish people. And this guy, he had one of the hardest quotes ever. Early on into a super long battle. I think the battle lasted for 3.5 hours. The enemy taunted Jones, and then John Paul Jones said one of the hardest quotes of all time. He said, "I have not yet begun to fight." Dude, that was during like the early stages of a 3.5 hour battle. They were like, "Yo, bro, you want to give up?" And he was like, "Nah, man, I haven't even started." I'm like, that's so hard. That is such a hard quote. And I'm pretty sure he won too. And he was such a, like, okay, let me just talk about his campaigns in the American Revolution, okay? He was so badass and he was such a menace that he was pardoned by one of the villages posthumously, saying like, oh yeah, he was part of the Americans, but like, he was pretty cool, so we're gonna pardon him. Like, you have to be such a menace and loved at the same time for a British town to posthumously say you're a good guy. So I'm gonna say, nah, he goes above Garbo. I think I'm gonna move Garbo down to Florida, man. Garbo was good, but he caused a lot of chaos, but it really kind of wasn't chaos. Oh man, I'm gonna move Mao Zedong up to dude WTF. Yeah, I like that. So that's the tier list. If you want me to dive deep into other historical figures that were pretty bad, that are not that known, let me know. This was just really fun to record and fun to research. So if you like that, video, please subscribe. Also, forgot, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Hope you had a great Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate, or Boxing Day, but whatever you celebrate. And hope you had a good New Year. But if you're from China and you celebrate the lunar calendar, then you just have to wait for the new year. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.